Women never forget certain men, but it is almost never for the reasons society has conditioned you to believe. You have probably been told that if you just work harder, build a massive bank account, drive a luxury car, or sculpt a perfect physique, women will automatically hold on to your memory forever. That is a lie. While those surface level traits might grab a woman's attention for a fleeting second, they do absolutely nothing to keep you locked inside her mind once you are gone. The modern dating world has tricked men into believing that flashiness equals value. In reality, a woman can spend an entire evening with a guy who drops thousands of dollars on expensive dinners, and by the next afternoon, he completely blends in with every other guy she has ever met. Why? Because material things do not touch a woman's core emotions. They just entertain her senses for a moment. The truth is that women live in a constant cycle of superficial male attention that you probably cannot even fathom. From the moment a woman creates a social media profile or steps out of her house, she is flooded with endless compliments, dry, direct messages, desperate attempts at flirtation, and men trying way too hard to impress her. Every single day, guys are trying to flex their money, launch their best pickup lines, or act like the ultimate smooth talker. Because she experiences this constantly, her brain has developed a filter to automatically tune it out. To her, all of that noise feels completely identical. It is generic, predictable, and utterly forgettable. When every guy acts from the exact same playbook of trying to gain her approval, no individual guy actually stands out. Most men are simply playing a numbers game of surface level fluff, which is why 99% of them get completely erased from her thoughts the second the interaction ends. What actually carves your name into a woman's mind forever comes down to subtle, master level shifts in your behavior that most men never even think to execute. It isn't about grand cinematic gestures or over the top romance. It happens in the quiet, precise moments where you reveal a level of emotional strength, self assurance, and psychological grounding that the average man simply does not possess. When a woman encounters a man who doesn't bend to her pressure, who doesn't thirst for her validation, and who moves through the world with absolute inner stability, it shocks her system. It completely disrupts her expectation of how men act around her. She realizes instantly that she isn't dealing with another guy trying to perform for her favor. She is in the presence of a man who operates on a completely different frequency. That is exactly why we are cutting through the polite lies and skipping the generic dating advice that keeps most men stuck in the friend zone or forgotten entirely. I am not here to feed you feel good cliches or surface level tricks that crumble the moment you use them in the real world. I am giving you the raw, unfiltered truth about what women actually say to each other behind closed doors when no men are around to hear it. These are the psychological secrets, the unspoken desires, and the deep emotional triggers that dictate who a woman longs for, who she compares every future guy to, and who she replays in her head late at night. If you want to stop being another temporary option and start being the man who remains completely unforgettable, you have to throw out what you thought you knew and master the true dynamics of female psychology. A woman will instantly forget the expensive dinners, the flashy gifts, or the smoothest lines you could ever rehearse if she never feels genuinely safe in your presence. Most men completely misunderstand what safety actually means in the eyes of a woman. They assume that as long as they can protect her physically, they have checked the box. But physical protection is merely the absolute bare minimum. Real, undeniable safety is emotional, mental, and psychological. Women are naturally wired to be guarded with their hearts because they live in a world where opening up often leads to being hurt, judged, or taken advantage of. A woman will only allow herself to drop her high walls and be completely authentic with you when she feels absolute certainty that her vulnerability will never be weaponized against her, mocked, or used as leverage in a future argument. The biggest mistake most men make is destroying this delicate sense of safety without even realizing it. When a woman opens up about her day, her stress, or her deepest anxieties, Average men react in ways that build massive emotional distance. They judge her reactions, dismiss her genuine concerns as unnecessary drama, or instantly switch into analytical problem solving mode to offer unwanted advice. They treat her emotions like a broken engine that needs to be fixed, rather than an experience that needs to be held. When life is spiraling out of control around her and her emotions are running high, the unforgettable man does not tell her to calm down, nor does he panic or try to lecture her. Instead, he becomes the calm in her storm. He remains completely steady, anchored, and unbothered by the chaos. He looks her directly in the eye, gives her his firm presence, and lets her know without an ounce of hesitation that he has everything under control. The exact second a woman feels that massive weight lift off her chest, the moment her nervous system relaxes because she realizes she can completely rely on your strength, she locks that feeling deep into her memory. Long after you are gone, she will measure every future man against the profound, rare sense of calm you provided when she needed it most. Parallel to creating that safe space is mastering the art of active, intentional listening, which is easily one of the most underrated yet lethal skills a man can develop. Most men have no idea how to actually listen to a woman. They practice a fake, surface level version of listening, where they smile, nod, and throw out polite hums, while secretly waiting for her to stop talking so they can pitch their next story, make a joke, or prove how smart they are. That is not listening. That is just waiting for your turn to speak. And women can sense that lack of real connection instantly. Real listening requires an intense, locked in presence where she feels completely seen, heard, and deeply understood without a single shred of judgment coming from your side. Think about the world she navigates every single day. Her friends half listen while staring at their phones, her coworkers cut her off to advance their own agendas, and most men only listen long enough to say what she wants to hear so they can get what they want from her. When a woman speaks to a man, she is rarely looking for a debate, a logical lecture, or a step by step blueprint to solve her life. She's looking for a safe outlet to release the internal pressure she has been carrying around. When you have the discipline to slow down, put away all distractions, absorb her words, and validate her emotional experience without rushing to fix everything, you trigger a deep psychological shift in her. You create a rare, unshakable bond that modern dating almost never produces. In a world overflowing with constant noise, surface level talk, and self absorbed people, the man who gives a woman his undivided, grounded presence becomes an unforgettable anchor in her mind forever. Modern life hits women with a relentless stream of anxiety, pressure, and mental noise. Between demanding career stress, toxic exes who left them guarded, competitive friendships, and the endless drama of daily life, most women are secretly running on emotional exhaustion. When you enter a woman's life, you are immediately faced with a choice. You either become another source of tension or you become her absolute refuge. If you step into her world and bring unpredictability, petty arguments, or emotional volatility, her brain will quickly associate you with stress, and she will inevitably build resentment toward you. But if your presence acts as an unshakable, calm sanctuary, a place where the noise of the world completely shuts off the second she is with you, you become psychologically irreplaceable to her. Protecting a woman's peace does not mean acting like a passive pushover who lets her walk all over him just to avoid a fight. That is a massive misconception. Real protection stems from total emotional self control, ironclad boundaries, and a refusal to get dragged into useless, childish drama. When a woman is spiraling, venting, or projecting her bad day outward, an average man reacts with equal emotional turmoil. He gets defensive, snaps back, or panics. An unforgettable man does the exact opposite. He holds his composure like an anchor, maintaining a steady, clear head while setting firm limits on how he will be treated. When a woman observes that your energy remains grounded no matter what chaos is happening around you, her entire nervous system drops its guard. Realizing that your presence consistently lowers her anxiety rather than raising it brings her a profound, addicted sense of relief. Even years down the road, if she ever finds herself surrounded by noisy, stressful men, she will constantly look back and remember the rare man who offered her absolute peace in a world full of chaos. Hand in hand with protecting her peace is having the undeniable courage to challenge her, which is where almost every average man completely falls apart. While a woman certainly wants to be valued and respected, she will never truly admire or stay attracted to a man who nods along to every single thing she says. When a guy bends over backward, changes his opinions just to match hers, avoids honest friction at all costs, and tolerates bad behavior, he destroys his own value. To her, that level of passivity signals weak character, a lack of conviction, and a desperate desire for her approval. It makes a man predictable, easy to manipulate, and ultimately forgettable because he acts like a fan rather than an equal partner. An unforgettable man operates with high standards and has zero fear when it comes to enforcing them. If a woman steps out of line, acts entitled, or tests your boundaries to see what you are made of, standing your ground with calm, unwavering authority instantly sets you apart from 99% of the guys she has ever met. You don't need to yell, argue, or get aggressive. You simply state your boundaries clearly and refuse to entertain disrespect or games. Calling her out constructively, challenging her faulty mindsets, and holding her accountable forces her to step up her game. This creates a powerful, healthy emotional tension that fuels genuine, deep seated attraction. Women don't remember the men who let them coast on bad habits. They forever respect and remember the man whose strength and high standards inspired them to level up into a better version of themselves. Women live in a world where they are constantly stared at, objectified, and approached, but surprisingly few men actually know how to make a woman feel deeply, intoxicatingly desired. Most guys stumble into one of two extreme mistakes. On one end, weak men shower her with cheap, endless surface level compliments about her body or her outfits. They throw out flattery like confetti, hoping that if they praise her enough, she will give them a chance. But because those compliments cost nothing and carry no real weight, they instantly lose all value and make the man look desperate. On the other end of the spectrum, unconfident men hold back their attraction entirely. They act completely indifferent or pretend to be just a friend out of a deep fear of coming across as needy or creepy. Both approaches are massive failures because neither taps into what a woman actually wants to feel in the presence of a strong man. The unforgettable man understands that true masculine desire is an art form rooted in absolute presence and grounded power. He masters the perfect balance between restraint and intense magnetic focus. You don't communicate desire through endless, gushing words. You communicate it through raw, unfiltered body language, unwavering presence, and intention. It is written in the way you hold powerful, piercing eye contact that makes her feel like she is the only person in the room. It is in the way you touch her, not with hesitation or desperate reaching, but with calm, deliberate, confident control that commands her attention. It is the subtle, unmistakable energy that communicates a clear truth. You do not need her to complete your life, but you want her, fully, deeply, and without apology. Women instantly forget generic, surface level flattery, but they will take the raw, visceral feeling of being genuinely craved by a grounded, high value man to their graves. Equally as powerful as expressing raw desire is knowing when to execute the ultimate display of self respect, walking away with absolute quiet dignity. Nothing burns deeper into a woman's mind or reshapes her perception of a man faster than watching him walk out of her life the exact second his value is taken for granted. When a woman starts pulling away, acting hot and cold, or testing boundaries with disrespectful behavior, 99% of men completely panic. Their insecurities flare up, and they immediately drop into a weak, reactive state. They flood her phone with long paragraph texts, demand explanations, start arguments, or desperately try to negotiate for her attention. All that needy behavior does is prove to her that she holds all the power, confirming her belief that she was out of his league all along. When you do the exact opposite, you completely shatter her expectations and rewrite the psychological script. An unforgettable man does not throw a temper tantrum, get bitter, or try to convince a woman to see his worth. When he recognizes that a woman is taking him for granted or refusing to meet his standard of respect, he calmly accepts the reality of the situation, wishes her the best with zero hostility, and simply removes his presence from her life. That quiet, unshakable detachment sends a massive, undeniable message. Your self respect will always be infinitely more valuable to you than her temporary approval. By stepping back without drama or anger, you leave behind an empty void and a haunting silence. You force her to sit alone with the reality of what she just lost, a rare, grounded man who genuinely valued himself. That lasting impression stings far deeper and burns into her memory far longer than any amount of desperate chasing ever could.